Over the last year, I've really been trying to minimize my camera kit. It started with the Fujifilm X100. I picked that camera up as an everyday carry camera, and I loved how freeing it was not carrying my big clunky camera bag. But when I'm going out with the intention to shoot some photos, shoot some videos, the X100 isn't quite enough. And so I needed some sort of middle ground between my big clunky camera bag and just carrying that one small portable camera. And I finally landed on this bag. In this bag, I have my main camera kit, and it's all the gear that I need to shoot probably 90% of the stuff I shoot. YouTube videos, I can shoot headshots out of this bag and the normal kind of portrait work that I love to shoot. A lot of my client work can be handled with just this kit. So in this video, I'm gonna go over this specific bag that I'm using and all the gear that I have in here. So let's get everything out of the bag and then I'll walk you through the whole kit. It has this zipper that can open along the side or this top flap, which I really like. All right, let's start with the bag that I'm using. This is the Peak Design Everyday Backpack in 15 liters. I went with all black and I picked this specific bag because it doesn't really look like a camera bag. It's just a little more subtle, and when I'm out and about, it doesn't look like I have a ton of valuable stuff in here. This bag has a little laptop pocket here, and this actually fits my 14-inch MacBook Pro, which is great. And then I can also put my iPad or my notebook, and there's some pockets here for organizing small stuff, camera batteries, things like that. And then the main body of this bag, you can either do these two zippers and just open this top flap. And this is where I keep a lot of smaller accessory type stuff. Or if you take these zippers all the way down the side, you can open the whole side of the bag. And it's actually pretty easy to do this with the strap still on your shoulder, so you can access all your bag stuff without putting your bag down. Inside here, it comes with two dividers, and these are Peak Design's, I think they're called origami dividers. They kind of fold up for some extra separation, which is nice. So I'll normally have my camera body and lens down in here, a spare lens, flip that up, more stuff here, and then stuff up top. So in that bag, in the bottom pocket, I have my Sony a7 IV. That's what I'm filming on right now. And I have the Sony 35 f1.4 on the body. Those will normally go in that bottom pocket, and I space those dividers so that the Sony will fit in there with the 35 or with my 50 1.2 on it. So I don't have to change lenses just to get my camera back in my camera bag. So let's just go over each piece of gear and why it's a part of my kit. So I just mentioned the 50mm. This is the Sony 50mm 1.2 GM. This is probably my all-time favorite lens. I'd say most of my work is shot on a 50, and yeah, has to be in my kit. So that's in there. I have this cool little AirPod lens cap on it because I had a camera bag stolen last year, the year before last, I don't know. The day before my wedding, camera bag was stolen, lost about $7,000 worth of gear. Insurance didn't cover it. So I have air tags everywhere now. 50mm, right next to the 50 or whatever lens is in that middle section of the bag. I have my Profoto A2. This is one of the pieces of gear that was stolen. I just replaced this a week ago. Santa dropped it off. I love this little flash. It has a ton of power. I shot a lot of outdoor portrait work in Ecuador with this flash. This is the only light I brought with me on that trip. So go check out that video if you want to see what this thing is capable of shooting portraits outdoors. That's in the kit. This is the little light stand adapter and umbrella holder for this flash. It screws on the bottom. Doesn't fit with this attached, so I keep it separate. And I really only need this if I need to mount the flash on a light stand without my normal softbox. If I'm gonna use an umbrella or I just have the bare light, I need this. If I have my Click softbox with me, this light just magnets to the back of it, and then that softbox has its own mounting point for a light stand, or it has a handle so an assistant can hold it. So if I have the softbox with me, don't need this thing, can leave it at home. Also for the flash, we have our little remote trigger. I have the bigger Profoto trigger, but again, trying to minimize my kit. This one is just so tiny. This is the Profoto Connect. So I keep that in the bag to fire the flash. I have some gels for the flash, just to turn the light from daylight balance to orange balance if I'm shooting indoors with some warmer lighting, or I just want to warm my light up. I have those. This is a full CTO and a half CTO. I had my quarter CTO stolen. So instead of buying just a quarter CTO gel, I bought this click gel holder. So this thing opens up. You can put whatever color gel you want in it, and then this will stick to the front of the flash, like that. Or if you're using the softbox, this piece goes inside the softbox. And then I just have a bunch of different colored gels in here that all stay together, and then I can change the color of that flash. I tend to use 1/8 or 1/4 CTO on most of my portrait work. I find this flash is just a touch bluer than my bigger Profoto, so I pretty much always have a warming gel on the front of it. Also in the bag, we have my DJI mini mics. That's what I'm using right now to film this video. This is the whole kit, 2 mics and the receiver that goes on the camera, all fits in this little box. I have this bag, I think actually came with the mics, but I use it to store the DJI action camera. If I'm shooting photos and shooting a YouTube video, I'm using my main camera for photos. So this thing becomes my A cam, and I'll set this up to shoot behind the scenes while I'm shooting photos. So I keep this little action kit in here. Inside here I have some spare batteries and the camera and a little tripod mount. I have an air blower to clean dust off of all my gear. I have the Fujifilm X100. Like I said, this is my everyday carry camera, but if I'm going on a trip or flying or whatever and I don't want to have this camera out, I can fit it in that bag with my whole kit. But a lot of times that's just hanging out on my shoulder. And then this is the small little things bag. Every small little piece of gear, batteries, SD cards, things like that get organized in here so that I always know where they are. Got a bunch of extra Sony batteries. I have extra Fuji batteries for the X100, and this thing's just has little organizational pockets. I have a 2 to 5 ND filter, and I have a 6 to 9 variable ND filter. I also have a polarizing filter. All 3 of those are in here. I have a spare tripod mount for the Fuji, or maybe the flash, or really anything that needs to be mounted, throw that in there. And a couple spare SD cards and a couple little cables, a USB-C cable for charging stuff. And that's about it. Not a ton of gear, but like I said, this covers a lot of work. If I'm doing headshots, I can shoot them with just this Profoto and my 50 and my camera. A lot of my YouTube video stuff, I don't really need extra lighting. I'm just shooting outdoors now. I have the camera and my little mic kit and the ND filters, and that's all I need. So yeah, pretty happy with this kit. I still have my bigger, clunkier camera bags, and those have my bigger Profoto flash. They have some extra lenses. I have a 20mm lens that I don't use often. I use it sometimes if I need that wide angle. Maybe I'm shooting indoors, I'll grab that kit. But for everyday stuff, if I'm just going out to film and the difference between bringing my gear and not bringing my gear is just having a smaller kit, that's kind of what this whole setup is for. I can bring this with me everywhere I go every day and not get tired of carrying it around and not look like I'm hauling a bunch of photo gear around. It's just a small little backpack. So I think that's it. That's all the gear that's in this kit. I will pack it up real quick so you can see how I have this thing packed. So if you open this side pocket, like I said, you have these 3 sections. Oh, I didn't mention these. I have a little wrist strap and a shoulder strap for my Sony. If I'm walking around taking photos, I'll put a strap on it, but normally I don't have one on there, especially if I'm filming on a tripod. If there's wind, it blows the strap around and you can hear it. So they stay down in here, and then the Sony with the lens on gets dropped into this bottom section. Middle section gets a lens first, and then this origami divider folds up, and then the strobe fits right there. And then up top is everything else. So I'll zip that. I'll open it from the top, and I'll put my accessory stuff in. Action camera, mics. I put this little trigger up in this pocket just so I can find it quickly. Mount, gels, and squish that down. The little air blower. And then, like I said, the Fuji often isn't in here, but I can fit it in here if I need to. So if this thing is fully packed, it is kind of hard to use this laptop sleeve. I'd feel a little nervous about cramming my laptop down in here, just in case, I don't know. It feels a little too tight. I don't want to crack the screen or anything. But it's also pretty rare that this thing is this loaded up. Often the Fuji's not in here. If I'm just doing photos, I know I'm not going to need the action camera. I can leave that out. It isn't always packed to the brim, but if it needs to be, it fits everything. So that's about it. That is my main camera kit for 2026. I'm actually traveling out east soon, and I am going to bring just this bag and the Click softbox for the flash. And I have a portrait project going on with just this kit. So keep your eyes peeled. That video will be up in a few weeks, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks.